Hey, good morning, it's Jason from Fraser Valley Rose Farm. I wanted to talk today about growing willow from cuttings. And I have a bunch of varieties of willows here. The first thing I wanted to say is I struggled a bit about the question of when to take this video. The right time to take the cuttings, or the best time to take the cuttings, is when they're in active growth. But the color of the stems is best to show off at this time of year, in the winter. And I've collected a group of 4 or 5 fancy willows with different stem colors that you can show through the winter. And what I might do while I'm talking about this here is try to insert a piece of video that shows how those look during the winter. Exceptional. But as I say, the best time to take cuttings of willow is in the summer months when they're in active growth and have leaves on them. They'll take a lot quicker that way. You can take willows from semi-hardwood or fully hardwood cuttings. This tray here is what I would consider fully hardwood, and I did these just as we were beginning the winter here. The one I wanted to demonstrate on today is the curly willow. It's the curly red corkscrew willow, which is got a great shape, and I treat it a little differently than I do the other ones. When I'm growing the other fancy willows in the landscape, I stool those down low to the ground early on in the season and let them shoot new shoots. That's how you get their best color. I'll insert a quick video here showing how I train the curly willow, but I actually let it grow to be a much larger tree or shrub just so that I can get the decorative effect of those curly branches. Okay, let me zoom in here. I'll show you how to know what length of this makes a good cutting. Okay, so I chose to do the curly willow here as an example for a couple of reasons. One, it looks pretty darn cool on camera, and the second one is that it is one of my very best sellers. So I can take cuttings like this in the spring and summer season and have it rooted in a pot like this over the course of the fall and winter. This can be up potted the following spring to a gallon size, and I can sell it that year for in the range of around $10. So it's a very quick and profitable item for me. So you take these cuttings just like you would on a rose, and I did that video with the semi-hardwood cuttings of roses. This is currently more in its hardwood state, but same instructions either way. You're cutting below a node, and by node I mean that spot where the leaf scar is, that sort of stripe with a little bud above it. That's the node. And I can count up 1, 2, or 3 nodes, and I like to leave this length here. Makes a good one for cuttings. Now I don't need to do rooting hormone on this, so I can just stick it in like this, and out of habit I always do 2 per pot. That way if one doesn't make it, then I haven't wasted the bench space. So 2 like that there, and you can see I've done the same thing in this tray here. What I wanted to show you actually is I took these about 6 weeks ago, and you can see already that this one has thrown one lonely root, but it really does not take willow a long time to root from cutting. I just about joke all the time that you could take a cutting, throw it over your shoulder, it would land on the ground, it would root for you. They're that easy. I want to show you one other thing here, which is this is 1 year old. So this was taken last year, and I didn't pot it up this year into the gallon size, but you can see how well rooted that is in 1 year. So super easy to take cuttings from willows, and like I say, you could take that in semi-hardwood, and if you did it as semi-hardwood, you'd leave the leaves, you'd strip off the bottom leaves, but you'd leave like half a leaf on the top just to help it collect some energy for the rooting. But if you take it as hardwood cuttings like this, that's fine too. In addition to the willows that I have in the landscape, I also have a number of colors of dogwoods that I've collected. And just to give you an example here, between the bright yellow and dark black of this one and the reds of the other ones, you get a lot of great landscape features on those. I should say that the dogwoods you train or treat just the same way in the landscape. Stool them down low in the spring and let them shoot up with their colorful branches throughout the summer so that you get that winter color. Now, you may have trouble once you've put all these in the landscape of telling between the willows and the dogwoods, but there is a trick. If you look on the willow stems, you'll see that the nodes that I was talking about alternate sides. There's one here, one here, one here, one here, and they just change sides of the stem as the leaves come out. On the dogwoods, they are opposite, meaning that on the stem, there's two buds that go out opposite to each other here. There's two buds that go opposite there, two buds that go opposite there. So the willows are alternate, the dogwoods are opposite. In terms of propagating the dogwoods, you can follow the same guidelines. Best season for it is summer, spring or summer, when in active growth, and relatively easy to root, although for the dogwoods I might consider using rooting hormone, whereas the willows I didn't. Thank you for watching today. If you have any questions on either the dogwoods or the willows, or how to do propagation in general, I'd be happy to take your questions.